And then you take this little staircase and you go over to the visitor center. Hi guys, so I am here at the home of Abraham Lincoln in Springfield, Illinois. And we're gonna get ready and go into the visitor center and see what this routine is. It does have a sign vividly marking where the parking lot is. It's like, what a beautiful day. This definitely is.
Those are happy exclamation marks, not angry. Oh, I just want to make sure you saw that.
I saw that.
That it's not angry. Did she show you?
Yeah.
Up too.
Have you guys heard about horseshoes? Springfield thing. So if you wanna get a horseshoe, it's 2 pieces of Texas toast. Every meat.
What'd you say?
You get it on.
I already signed you in.
So and I always keep the belt for whatever you want.
That's really
And
cool.
they put fries on top and then cheese sauce. But if you're gonna do
We do have restrooms and a cute little gift shop.
Your mom's not back yet. I think of your dog up there, Wyatt.
People dressed up like them.
Alright guys, the house behind me is Abraham Lincoln's home. This is the only home that Abraham Lincoln ever owned. The family initially purchased this house in 1844 for the whopping grand total of $1,500. It's a little bit different from today's housing prices. The house wouldn't have looked exactly like this when they first moved in. Instead, it would have looked more similar to that 1.5-story home in the corner there, which is fine for the family at the time. So when they first moved in, it was only Abraham, his wife Mary, and their baby Robert. But as their family would continue to grow, 3 of their kids being born in this home, they would make several expansions, the main one being adding that second story as we see it now. But this is where Abraham Lincoln spent 17 years of his life. This is where 3 of his kids were born and where 1 of them passed away. This is where he lived before he was known around the world, around the nation, or known anywhere. When he lived here, he was just Abraham Lincoln, the guy who lived in Springfield, was a lawyer, neighbor, father, but just a regular guy. So as we go throughout the house, we're going to be seeing some of his stuff, which I'm sure you guys are excited to see. We're also going to be talking about some different stories and life moments, and hopefully through those you're able to feel a bit of a deeper connection with Lincoln the person, as he was when he lived here in Springfield. With that, do you have any initial questions before we head inside?
That is so cool.
And we're all gonna step into that parlor room there. I'm just gonna make my way to this middle spot here. Just watch out for our doors there. Alright guys, so this is gonna be the parlor. This is the formal, fancy, entertaining space for the Lincolns. It's where they would have welcomed and greeted their guests, so it's a great place for us to start as we welcome their newest guests to you guys. I'd like to start off by pointing out some of the original pieces, as that is what a lot of people are interested in. Those original pieces are going to be the majority of this dark wood, black horsehair upholstered furniture here, as well as that marble top table to your guys' left. these candlestick holders in the back parlor, and the shelf behind me. The shelf behind me is called a whatnot. It's where they would display their knickknacks, their trinkets, their whatnots, similarly to how we display our stuff today. But I like to start off by pointing some of this stuff out because I think it helps paint a pretty good picture. It makes these before they would have added the second story and moved the master suite upstairs. This back parlor room would have been the master bedroom. Being that this is the master bedroom, it is where 3 of the Lincoln boys were born, Eddie, Willie, and Tad. It's also where Eddie unfortunately passed away at the age of 3 from tuberculosis, with his funeral being held in this front parlor room the next day. So we can think about how the walls of this home experienced those highs and lows and joys and sorrows of the Lincoln family in the same way that our homes experience our lives. On a bit of a brighter note, another moment that would have happened in here is that this is where Abraham Lincoln was when he was presented with the official Republican presidential nomination by some delegates from Chicago. Does anyone have a guess what his response to that nomination might have been?
No.
I think you said no. I feel like that's a pretty fair guess. Personally, I'd probably say that. But it is a bit of a trick question because he didn't give him a yes or no answer. He told him, let me think about it, which I feel like is pretty fair, pretty big decision to make with all the changes this would mean for him and his family and his country. But 4 days later, he would send a letter officially accepting the nomination. So it's really here where his presidential journey began, where he also started to head down that road to becoming Lincoln the Legend as we now know him as. Something else I like to point out in this room are going to be these drawings on the floor. These are from Frank Leslie's illustrated newspaper. They were done in 1861. From these, we can get our idea of what the wallpaper would have looked like, what the carpet might have looked like, as well as where the furniture was, the decorations, the stuff on the walls, things like that. For the wallpaper and carpet, we're also comparing it to patterns available at the time to try to make our best guess of what they would have looked like to make these rooms look as accurate as possible. You're going to see these drawings again in the next room, so definitely take a look at them in the sitting room and compare it to how the rooms are set up to how they look at home.
That's amazing.
Is that?
Not between Lincoln and the governor.
Wallpaper supposed to be.
This one must be, should be real.
We'll keep sliding into this room so that we're able to fit
The
everyone
chair.
in here. And the last room we're in, which is the more formal fancy room, this is going to be our more casual everyday living space. If they had TV in the 1800s, their TV would have been in here. This is going to be like our living room. Over there on the right, we can imagine Mary sewing at this original mirror and table. We can also picture the Lincolns sitting in the corner together reading, as they often did. And on the floor in front of us, we can imagine the Lincoln boys wrestling. And when I say the Lincoln boys, I mean all of the Lincoln boys, including Abraham Lincoln, who is pretty well known for wrestling, and I guess good at it because he is in the Wrestling Hall of Fame today. So if you have a fun fact you want to tell your friends after the tour, it could definitely be that. But I like to tell that story not only because I think it's interesting, but I think it also shows how much Lincoln loved his boys and how much he loved to spend time with them and dote on them. The Lincolns are said to have a pretty lax parenting style. They're said to parent in a way that was unrestrained by parental tyranny. You can take that however you want, but I like to take it as they just really loved their boys and wanted to do what they thought was best for them. But over on that table on the left, we can see something that would have occupied the Lincolns' time. That brown box with the black eyepieces is the Lincoln's original stereoscope. Would have been kind of like a Viewmaster or the great-great-grandfather of virtual reality. Would have allowed the Lincolns to see an image in 3D when they inserted a card and view it through the eyepieces. So pretty high tech for the 1850s. Definitely would have been pretty expensive. Would have made the Lincoln boys the talk of the neighborhood with a cool toy like that. From this, we can get an idea of not only how much Lincoln loved to spoil his boys, but also what the Lincolns were able to afford. Abraham Lincoln came to Springfield with basically nothing, and now he's able to afford an expensive gift like this for his kids. But another thing on that table that would have occupied their time is going to be chess. That's not the Lincoln's original chess set, but it is the same style of chess set that they would have had. We know this because a broken piece of a white pawn was found during an archaeological excavation of the backyard. So from this, they were able to determine what that chess set would have looked like. This was also a very common style of chess set back in that time. There were thousands of these sold during the 1850s in the Midwest, so this was a very common type of chess set to have. We also know that Lincoln was definitely playing chess because not only was it a popular game at the time, but there are also several recorded instances of him playing it here in Springfield and also when he would go on to the White House. That table that those two pieces are sitting on is going to be original, as well as the two chairs at it. Those are part of that dining room set that we saw in the last room. But something in here that would have occupied the Lincolns' time is going to be their pets. Do we have any dog, cat, animal lovers in here? Yeah. Well, the Lincolns definitely had their fair share of pets. They had a dog named Fido, a yellow lab mix that'd be running around. They also had lots of cats. Lincoln was known for bringing home stray cats when he'd be walking home from work or walking around town. Mary once said to a friend that his greatest hobby was collecting cats. So you can think of him as a bit of a crazy cat lady if you want. But I think it shows a personality trait that we don't normally learn about, and it's that he was definitely an animal lover. Lincoln owned animals throughout his entire life, including when he would go to the White House, where they had goats and a turkey and cats and a dog and all kinds of different animals. But a fun thing we don't normally learn about. Do you have any questions to Lincoln's bedroom? We have everyone now? Okay, awesome. So this is going to be Abraham Lincoln's bedroom. The first thing I like to point out here is probably the first thing you noticed, and that's this wallpaper. What are our thoughts on the wallpaper? Do we love it? Do we hate it? Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs ups? Seen a lot of thumbs ups. I think at least the people that are giving an opinion are all saying that they like it, so I'm going to assume everyone loves it and wants to put this up in their house. Which the Lincolns would love to hear that you love it so much, because this is the only original wallpaper pattern that we have in the entire house.
Wow.
So the rest of the house is our best guess at what they would have had. This is going to be their only original wallpaper pattern. So it is what the Lincolns would have seen when they're falling asleep to every night, woken up to every morning, for better or for worse. But a piece of it was found and removed during restoration processes, reproduced, put back up on the walls for us to love this afternoon. So pretty cool that we're able to see what the Lincolns would have seen. It is a French design, probably influenced by Mary, who was fluent in French from her 12 years of formal education. Very different from Abraham Lincoln's less than 1 year of formal education. But I mentioned we were downstairs, but this is the master's suite. So the half you guys are standing in would have been Abraham's half, the half behind you would have been Mary's. That was the style at the time. It was also a big status symbol. If you were able to afford the 2 separate bedrooms, that's just what you did. I like to think of it as their transition from being a middle class to an upper middle class family, that they're able to afford this kind of luxury. But it also could serve some practical purposes, as Lincoln was often up late at night working at that writing desk back there. And Mary, unfortunately for her, had to share her half of the master's suite with the 2 youngest Lincoln boys. Billy and Tad would have slept on a trundle bed that pulled out from underneath their mother's bed. So it did serve some of those practical purposes. But I did point out that writing desk back there. That is my favorite artifact to point out in this room. It is Lincoln's original writing desk. Looks pretty small for a guy who's 6'4", but we know that he purchased it when he was first starting out as a lawyer here in Springfield. It was probably all he could afford. We think he wrote many of his speeches and debates at that desk. So a nice historic thing that we're able to see now. He probably could have afforded something bigger and better by this point, but he held on to it, maybe for sentimental reasons. I mean, we all have things that we hold on to or move from place to place because they're special to us. So that could have been special to him. It also could have served as a reminder and inspiration of where he started in his career and where he was able to work his way up to. But 2 of the other original pieces that I like to point out in this room is going to be that armoire behind you guys, as well as the chest of drawers. Unfortunately, no, the boots and the hat down there are not originals, but the boots are his size 14, so you get an idea of how big his feet were, but not going to be original. Do you have any questions in here before we move to the back hallway? Are going to be originals. They were found in an archaeological excavation of the backyard and are thought to be the Lincoln boys. So from this we can get an idea of the kind of toys they would have had to play with. Also goes to show that kids have always left their stuff all over the place, so not too much has changed historically. Enough if it were original. I think everything in that room looks deceptively small because of how tall the ceilings are. The only original artifact, and that's going to be that stove in front of you guys. That is the Lincoln's original, approximately 600-pound cast iron stove. Probably still here because no one wanted to move a 600-pound cast iron stove, but at least now we get to enjoy it. The Lincolns would have purchased this in 1860. They would shortly leave for the White House in 1861, so we think this is a symbol of their intention to come back to Springfield after Lincoln served his time in the presidency. This would have been an investment into their family and their future here, so we think they intended to return. Unfortunately, after the assassination of Abraham Lincoln in 1865, no Lincoln would ever return to live in this home. The only documentation we have of any Lincoln returning at all is Robert Lincoln, who returned once in 1909 for his father's 100th birthday celebration. So definitely a tragic end to their time here in Springfield. But the last thing I like to point out is not an object, but it's the size of this room. I'm sure you guys feel a little bit cramped, but the size of this room is approximately the same size as those log cabins that Abraham Lincoln was born and raised in Indiana and Kentucky, that he would share with up to 7 other family members at a time. I think this serves as a great visual comparison for us to conclude our tour, as we can kind of see where he started and where he was able to work his way up to, not only to owning this big, beautiful house, but also going all the way to the White House and becoming president. We learn a lot about Lincoln the legend, the icon, all the great things that he accomplished. Hopefully throughout this tour you were able to feel a bit of a deeper connection, or at least learn a little bit more about Lincoln the person, the father, the husband, the animal lover, and the wrestler, who is really not so different from us. But with that, do we have any final...
Back of their house. This little walkway. Here is their 3-seater porta potty. Hey guys, so I did the tour of the Lincoln's home, which is right back there, sitting on this little brick table, and there's the visitor center right there, and the parking lot is right there. So it's a great little community if you get the chance. Whoa, crazy hair. If you get the chance to come out and check it out, I definitely give it a thumbs up. It's absolutely free. You can walk around the entire community for free. You can tour Abe's house for free, the visitor center for free. The only thing is parking, and parking's $2 an hour. So it is a great experience for everybody, I think. So, and I'm really impressed that it's free. So thumbs up.